Yeah. Hustling and grinding, don't know where to go. Emerald Coast board, got the knowledge flow. Whispers in the wind, strategies unfold. Business blueprint like a pirate's code.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tab Lab with your host Mickey Kilburn and myself, Neil Grossider. We are super excited because today we have a very special guest with us, Brianna Jackson. Her husband, Ryan Jackson, owns Window Hero of Pensacola, Destin, and we are stoked to have her on the podcast today. But before we jump into that, we have some big shout outs. Tanya Seabrook with Seabrook Marketing in her podcast Run a Show. She allows us to use this amazing studio and she helps us out quite a bit because we're very novice at this. The other big shout out we have is Ryan Balmer with Suffer Up podcast. If you haven't checked that one out, check that one out as well because it's amazing.
Both are good. Yeah.
Both are they're awesome. So today, Brianna is here because, man, this is a fun topic.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the spouse behind the entrepreneur.
Can we talk about something more important first? Aren't you retired military?
I am.
And what branch were you?
The Navy.
Thank you.
Oh, that's cool. But which one are your boys going to?
The Air Force.
The Air Force. See? Yeah. Yep.
Nicely played.
Yeah, you're welcome. You just set that up for a little T-ball action.
I
was
did.
just like,
I did. I gotta let you win once in a while.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for that support. But yeah, so we've talked a lot about the entrepreneur and, you know, all the things that we don't really expect or we don't know until we're in it, right? But then there's always that person behind the scenes that nobody ever talks about. They don't get the love. They don't get the support. That's why we want to be here today because they are really the thing behind the entrepreneur. That spouse is really the person behind the entrepreneur providing that support to let the entrepreneur do the crazy entrepreneurial life that we all know is not a very, I don't know, what's a good way to put that?
Crazy?
Crazy, yeah.
Well, it is crazy. It's not crazy.
It's not, yes, it is crazy. It's
crazy. Not
unexpected, right? There's a lot of unexpected things.
Roller coaster.
A roller coaster, that's a good way to put it. And nobody ever reaches out to the spouse to be like, hey, how are you? Right? Like, you know, how are you holding up? What can we do to help and support you? So that's what this episode is truly about. How can we help out the spouses behind the people running the business? So welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for
Excited
coming
to be
on.
here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
It's funny because Bree also didn't know that this was video. So congratulations. Surprise.
Don't mind my hair.
So just a couple of quick questions. Well, main quick question. When Ryan told you he was going to start a business and be an entrepreneur, what was your initial thought?
Okay. That was it. I mean, that was my initial thought. We already had a couple of businesses and business ventures that, you know, we were part of or invested in. And so it wasn't unfamiliar territory. Though I will say at the time, you know, my 9 to 5 was pretty intense.
Yeah.
So, you know, my kind of feedback was like, yeah, do what makes you happy. He had just retired from the Navy as well. Navy, go Navy.
This episode is going to be rough.
And so, you know, when you're in the military, you give a lot. You give a lot to the military. You know, expense a lot at your family, you know, at your family's expense. And so I just wanted him to do something that he was going to enjoy. So I, you know, told him, yeah, go find something that's going to be fun.
Yeah. And that was it, right?
That was it.
Then off to the races.
Then off to the races. And I went back to work and ignored everything after that for a while.
And then entrepreneur life hits.
And then entrepreneur life hits.
Yeah, because we all know that it doesn't stop.
No. No, it started with him moving 6 months before me and the kids moved. So, you know, you talk about the roles different people take on. At that point in time, I became, you know, essentially a single mom for 6 months while he moved out here, started everything up, got it, kind of started getting it rolling while I was still in my very intense job, but then also kind of doing all the things as well as then arranging and managing, the move.
Yeah.
But I did tell him he had to fly back to fly with us. So he did. So he did do that.
Yeah.
Good for
So he
him.
did do
He's a
that.
good husband.
He is.
He's a
he
good
is.
guy.
He
Yeah.
is. He's a pretty
He
good
is.
guy. Don't let him see this to let him know.
Oh,
this,
okay,
that
yeah,
we said
we
he's a
won't.
good guy.
Yeah.
No.
He doesn't need that.
Can't let him know.
No. But yeah, that stuff's really hard, right? Like taking on that new role because entrepreneurs in general, they jump into it and then they're in it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's very intense.
Yeah.
Like I think people, entrepreneurship has kind of this like rose-colored glasses,
Yep.
like sheen over it. Like, oh, I'm gonna come up with this crazy idea and I'm gonna go make millions of dollars. Yay!
Be my own boss. Yay.
Yay!
I can create my own schedule.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, about that.
We know. Yeah.
And, I think, especially depending on what type of journey you take, there's definitely like a lot of aspects and nuances. Like even if you're well versed in business, like we were pretty well versed in business, we'd been engaged in several businesses, but going out and starting that, full entrepreneur, like as a business, not just, hey, we have ideas and we're shooting them around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things. You have insurance, right?
a big
And
one.
in Florida in particular,
It's even
it
worse.
is really, really hard, especially if
Worse.
you're going to have people working for you. And in the industry that he was doing, which was a services industry, it was almost impossible to get any company to even give you a policy.
Correct.
Just because of the way Florida insurance laws are. So,
Yeah.
nuances like that you, even if you're doing all your market research up front, you're not going to really know that until you're trying to apply for those things.
Which is already after you started the business.
Correct. After you've put the money in, wrote the checks, signed on the dotted line, signed your firstborn child away, and all
Hey,
of those
I mean-
things.
Who did go to the Air Force? Just saying.
My firstborn did, yeah.
Yeah, see?
They bribed him with free tacos, didn't they?
It probably. We'll beer.
It
Beer
had
and
to be.
tacos.
They told him he could sit in a dark room with nothing but a computer screen, and he was like, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he did as a teenager anyway. And
So-
same thing with my second, who's also going to Air Force. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Air Force gets all the money.
See, they have smart kids.
Yeah. We told them. We did tell them, because the Navy people are smart, so we told them to go Air Force.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Badooch.
So anyway, you're still doing your military career in another state. Ryan came here.
Yes.
So there's that pressure of being separated from your husband,
Yep.
being a single mom,
Yep.
and you were very high up in the Navy.
Yes.
And so you had all those responsibilities. You had a lot of responsibilities. And on top of that, with all this and starting a new business, how was it for you when you would talk on the phone or video call each other? How was that? Because I know he had to be really stressed. How was that for you, knowing that here's your husband over here, he's stressed, but you're like, dude, I've got way more stress than you.
Yeah, so that's always a funny conversation. I would probably say I didn't do that very well, and maybe I blame being an only child here on this one. But he would call and be like, "Yeah, I just came back from this bar networking event, or this bar networking event, or this lunch networking event," Oops. And meanwhile I'm sitting here, dealing with all of the things, and I'm just like, "You're just out there having fun." Wait,
What is happening?
There's not even a paycheck coming in. Well, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand. You're just out there spending more of our money, right? And so I think that's one thing too, that like on the spouse side, like when you're starting a business, like you have to get its name recognition.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's a big thing.
it's funny because even with the company I work for now, that I'm retired from the Navy,
Woohoo.
one of the big things that I'm preaching with our teams is like company name recognition. Like,
Yeah.
do people know who we are? Do they know where we service? Do they
Yep.
know what kind of services we provide? And so, he had to do all of those things. But, being half a world away in the middle on an island, well, I guess you can't feel too sorry for me. I was in Hawaii. But, you know, it was
There
at
are
least
worse
beautiful.
places. Yeah,
But
there
you
are
were a
worse
single
places.
mom and
Yeah.
your job.
Right.
Yeah.
Like 16-hour days. We were in the middle of like crisis and trauma at work. And so, yeah, it's, you know, it was just, there was a huge, you know, disconnect, right?
Yeah.
And so it just seemed like he was, you know, kind of skipping through life, as it were, as this entrepreneur. Meanwhile, you know, I'm dealing with all of the things.
Yeah.
And I would say, especially like as a female spouse, right? And I don't know, you know, how a male spouse would feel similar or differently, right? But we take a lot of like mental load, right? And there's all these YouTube videos out there to try to train our male spouses on mental load and how not to contribute to it, which is not a man's fault.
Probably need to
It
look
is.
at these.
It's. I mean, yeah. It's definitely like our own issue.
Yeah.
I feel like my wife is taking note and going,
Yeah, that's
send
what
me
I was-
those videos
I was just thinking.
for my husband to
Yeah,
watch.
Corey's back there going, okay,
Ladies,
Bree,
just
let's
call
talk.
me. We'll talk about it. No, but you know, you already you have actual things you have to do. You know, I had 4 kids. We were just coming out of COVID. Everybody was in different schools, and my oldest had just gotten his license, so he was at least very helpful from that perspective.
Yeah,
like
it's huge.
kids were playing soccer, so they're playing football, so we're going to all these different practices. Plus, I'm working like 16-hour days, like. I'm telling the kids to order Uber Eats, you know, because I don't have any time or energy to make dinner. And, you know, then you think on the other side, like, oh, okay, he's just like skipping through. But, you know, will call me to ask me a question about something that, you know, could go into one of our accounts and look up or something like that, you
Yes.
know. And so it's, you don't think about that like mental load that you have and how you can misinterpret what's going on with your spouse, right? Because like for me, I'm like, oh, I have all of the things are on me, everything is on me, and what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's really easy to slip into like resentment.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
And so that's something like I think spouses of entrepreneurs, they really have to watch.
Yeah.
And because, and especially if you're not, like if you're a spouse, but you're like, you don't do business or you're not into any of it or you don't know anything, like looking in from the outside, you may not understand like all the nuances of, you know, he was trying to get a small business loan and he was trying to get his insurance and he was trying to call these people and do all these things and get training and order all of his equipment. But you don't see all those details,
Yeah.
especially when you're remote like we were.
Correct. And nobody ever tells you about those things either.
No.
No.
Like, it's just something you learn as you're doing the business, right?
Yep.
And then now all of a sudden you don't have the time to do all those things. So you rely on the one person you can always count on, your spouse.
Right.
And you don't ever think about their mental load,
Yep.
all the things they have going on, because they're already slammed trying to start that brand recognition, doing all the marketing, doing all the networking, making sure the systems, the processes are set up, making sure they're actually doing the job when they get hired, trying to get those jobs. Like, there's so much to it. And then they rely on the spouse and they don't see what it's doing to them.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, you say those things, and I know Tanya all the time because we go to lunches all the time. And some of the times we go to some really cool places to eat, and they're places that Tanya wants to try, and we're eating lunch there, and she's like, must be nice to just go eat all day. And she doesn't realize that, hey, this is a meeting. We're trying to set up this. We're setting up podcasts. We're setting up alliances and partnerships and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can really see, you know, from her perspective when you're saying that, how
Yeah.
that is a toll on her because, you know, Tanya works at home most of the time.
Yeah.
So she's not going out. She's going to the fridge. That's her going, sorry, hon. You know, going out to eat is the fridge at home.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's tough. So as he goes through these things, you know, as we all know as entrepreneurs, we have our ups and downs.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And we ride highs and we, you know, and when we get our lows, we forget about all our highs.
Yep.
We forget all our successes. So, you know, when he was having those lows, was he sharing those with you? How did that go for you guys? Was he, you know, did he say, hey, Bree, I'm having a rough day? I mean, how did that go for you? And how did, especially when you were in Hawaii dealing with all this, how did that go?
Yeah, so I think, you know, when I was in Hawaii, you know, he would tell me maybe some things like, oh man, it's hard to get insurance or whatever, but he wouldn't go into the details, right? And part of that was, I joke about the mental load was him trying not to give me mental load, right?
Yes.
And
Good
so,
job, Ryan.
Yeah,
That's great. Good job, buddy.
so he's not necessarily sharing all of the details, and because I wasn't there in person, I couldn't just observe what was going on myself, and so it was hard. Like I didn't know, what if he was having lows or what the lows were. It was just kind of like, everything's good. We're working through it. It's this nuance or that nuance, but that's just business, and we move forward. It was probably more of me calling and being like, unleash all of my drama, and then saying, okay, hold on one more time. Let me do it one more time. Unleash all of my drama again, because just trying to get things off of my chest so that I could be like, all right, okay, now I can breathe a little bit. Now we're gonna take so and so to soccer, and so that was one thing. Obviously once we got back together, and we're now all co-located together, which is in itself was a crazy transition because we were crammed into a friend's house with 4 kids in one bedroom on camping cots with the 2 dogs and the cat, and me and him in another room in this little bitty house while we were trying to find a house because Pensacola real estate at the time was
crazy,
not great.
Yep.
But then you kind of start to see, okay, this is working well. Okay, this isn't working well. And that's, as a spouse, like you get bits and pieces if you're not actively engaged, right? And so, I had told him from the beginning, hey, I don't have the bandwidth to be actively engaged. Like I would love to be there and support you, and I want to support you in whatever way I can. Yeah. I just don't really have any ways right now in which to do that. Yeah. Which isn't fair. And I think that's one thing for sure, like, any entrepreneur, if they, are with a significant other, like they've got to pay attention to, because it is not a one-man show. Like it is going to impact everything. And the more in it you both are together, and at least communicating kind of on a daily basis, what's going on, how's it going, what do we need, can I help with anything, the easier it is.
So Bree, she made some really good points. A lot of the things you've just been talking about are like key factors to entrepreneurs or spouses, how not only their family life is going, but also how that transitions to the business and the entrepreneurial startup, right? Because a lot of times we don't think about that. Like, Ryan wasn't telling you all the lows because he didn't want to burden you with any more, but then who does he have to really talk to about, right? So now it's on him, then he doesn't think you're as supportive as you could be, and in reality, you were just trying to be as supportive as you can that day. Yeah. Right? And we've seen that causes a lot of resentment, unfortunately, in relationships. And so the communication aspect of what you were just talking about is probably one of the most crucial things between a spouse and an entrepreneur. So a question for you, how should or how can spouses, that significant other of an entrepreneur, open those communication channels?
Yeah, I think you have to just be willing to listen, and listen without being the know-it-all, which I will say I'm not always very good at.
Or the Mr. Fix-It or Mrs. Fix-It.
Right, exactly. Yep. Hindsight is 20/20. So, you get told about something and you're looking back on the story and you're like, well, why didn't you just do this? It comes across as very judgmental, and it can make those conversations go south really fast. But it's hard because like you want to be supportive and you're like, oh, I'm giving constructive criticism, and I'm giving great ideas, and meanwhile your spouse is like, I hate you. You are a pain in my butt, and please go away. I don't want to talk to you anymore about this, and they, when they slink off into their own little corner of the house or whatever. Yeah. And so it's really like, can you listen? Can you communicate? Can you be open? Be curious, ask questions as opposed to give advice. Yeah. Even if you want to give advice, or at least, really make sure you prep like, hey, and it sounds silly, but there were definitely times where I prepped, I am not trying to be judgmental. I'm not sure how else to say what I'm going to say, but I don't want you to take it the wrong way. Yeah. Like, I'm just trying to share like this observation. And so sometimes like you have to prep it.
You do.
And that's what, if you're in a dedicated and loving relationship, like your spouse will understand.
Yeah.
You know, there may still be a little friction, but like they'll understand.
But that smooths it out a lot better,
Yeah.
prefacing with that. And I mean, it could be as easy as, hey, let's go grab some tacos and talk. Yeah.
Everybody likes Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, see, just do it every Tuesday. Just
I
one
don't
day.
I don't like Taco Tuesday. That's just not right.
You want taco every day?
Yes.
Every
Should
day that
not-
ends in Y.
Well, a couple days for barbecue. Barbecue. Can I have
We've
some
talked about
barbecue?
this. Barbecue tacos
I love it.
is the thing. Yeah.
Make some killer carnitas tacos.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
See? This
That
is
should
how-
be a
I make
podcast one day.
I make killer tri-tip. You smoke some tri-tip and throw that on a taco, or in a taco bowl if you don't want the carbs. You know,
Yeah.
some salad.
This makes it easy.
Yeah.
But that alone, just like, hey, let's go grab some tacos. Let's talk. Let's let you unload
Yeah.
on this. I have the mental capacity right now.
Well, and that's actually big too. Like, just get out of the house to do it.
Yeah. Just
Because like in
separate.
the house, you know, whether, you know, you're a spouse that works like me or you're a spouse that stays at home, like in the house, all the rest of life is on top of you in the house.
Life happens all
And-
the time.
Yeah. And so like you as the spouse, you're experiencing the rest of life because you're in the house.
Yeah.
So then when you have that conversation, you may already be like, oh my gosh, life is here. And now you're like bringing me here. And this is crazy. So at least if you go to like a neutral space, you can be like, okay, we're out of life.
Well, you take away a lot of those factors, right?
Yeah.
And then you can separate the life and the business. When we
Yeah.
talk about that constantly, I feel like I know our viewers are probably tired of hearing us talk about life, health, and business, but
Sorry.
it's one of those things where you do, like you just
Yes.
pointed out, like you have to separate it out.
Yeah.
And now you can talk about the business in a different setting. It doesn't have to be at life where life always happens. Once you get in that different environment,
Yeah.
things go a little bit better.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned health because, you know, I think people don't always realize like health can be good or bad no matter what side of the spectrum you're on with your business.
Yep.
If your business is great, it could be because you're like super overworked
Yeah.
and not spending any time taking care of yourself or, you know, managing your relationships with your family. If business is really bad, you could also be very overworked. But then also like, you know, stress and stress is a
Yeah.
huge, I mean, people
massive
don't
factor.
understand the effect that stress has on your health. Like,
Yeah.
you know, coming from the job that I had in Hawaii, like I have had severe health implications from that. So I am very aware of the impacts of stress on your body. But that's something too, like when you love your spouse and you are trying to support them in an entrepreneurial journey, like there's always going to be stress.
Yes.
And so how are you
Always.
supporting,
Always stress.
how are you supporting their health, your health, the family's health?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to lose sight of that and be like, oh yeah, I'll always be fine. I eat okay and I, you know, do whatever. Like, but it's really, really easy to let all those things slip when you get busy.
Yep. And when you get busy and when you get focused on the other person and their journey and trying to be supportive, you know, pretty much that rock
Yep.
that they can always rely upon. And then that health, that diet goes away, that, hey, I'm going to limit my stress by doing meditations or getting up early to work out or whatever starts going away because now you're using that time for something different.
Yep.
And so it just goes
The
away.
prioritization it's really hard.
It is.
And you kind of made the joke about, oh, you get to make your own schedule. Like that's funny. And depending on, you know, whether you're a serial entrepreneur or
Yep.
whether, you know, you're coming into it from a normal W-2 job, like having a schedule is actually really, really important.
So vital.
But
no. Here we go.
Here we go.
I will disagree. I will disagree with the 5 a.m. club.
Ooh.
Right? So I'm going to disagree with the 5 a.m. club. I know. Some people love it.
I love it.
No, sir.
No, my alarm is, now that I'm retired, my alarm is set at 7. I get up, I have my coffee, I sit and relax, right? Like, and then I like start my day between like 8 and 9. But I'm not, but that's, you know, that's kind of, you know, how I start in the morning. But the schedule isn't so much like do this at 8, do this at 8:30, do this at 9, do this at 5 a.m., do this at 4, you know. It's, okay, mornings on Monday are going to be this key focus. Afternoons on Monday are going to be this key focus. So you can divide your schedule up into kind of 10 blocks during the week, the mornings and the afternoons of every weekday. Pick where you're most productive. So are you most productive in the morning? A lot of people are. Or are you more productive like after lunch?
That guy.
Yeah. So So what are the most important tasks? What are the priorities that you have to work on? So put them in one of those time periods where you're most productive and try to keep as consistent as you can, but be flexible, right?
You have
sometimes things will move from Monday to Tuesday, and sometimes things will move from Wednesday morning to Monday afternoon. And, it depends on your clientele. It depends on your work products.
And I think for one of those blocks, it needs to focus on the spouse, on the family, on that factor. So.
Well, and I would say so that if you at least do that 10 block, it allows you to try to put all of your business stuff in a normal 9 to 5.
Correct. Yep.
So that your evenings
9 to 5.
That's hard.
What's that?
That's fun.
Well, so your evenings can be your family, right? And then you say, hey, every Wednesday night is taco night.
Yep.
And
and Tuesday and Thursday.
And
And barbecue.
But that way you have to set boundaries for yourself.
Yes.
Because nobody, especially when you're an entrepreneur, nobody else is going to set boundaries. Everybody
Correct.
else is going to violate your boundaries.
100%.
Which is especially hard as a spouse.
We just talked about this.
Yeah.
When you're like trying to watch a movie and your husband's getting 3 phone calls that he gets up and takes, and you're like, I thought this was like date night and we're
this
watching
is
a
our
movie.
time, right?
So like both the spouse and the entrepreneur, like being focused on, okay, how am I prioritizing my time? Where do I fit the elements, at least the basic blocks of the business?
Yeah.
Because that'll help you manage that time, focus on those priorities, and then keep that communication up, right?
'Cause
So,
that's big.
you make sure like you take the kid to soccer on Monday, the other one will take the kid to soccer on Wednesday. Like you do those trade-offs because that's what life is. It's a bunch of trade-offs.
That's exactly it. So we're coming close on time. So I just want to, real quick, some young lady wisdom for us. That what would you like to tell the other spouses out there, especially if somebody is starting their spouse is starting their entrepreneurial journey?
It's hard. It's very expensive. So don't be shocked by those things. Make sure you talk numbers early and often. Finances are one of the biggest reasons that relationships have struggles. So definitely be very invested and knowledgeable about where the finances are going and what's happening there, so that you don't build that resentment, because it's one of the fastest and easiest ways to build resentment.
It is.
And try to be engaged. Try to be engaged. Don't just be the spouse and doing the own thing. Don't do what I did. Try to be engaged and be there for your spouse and help and learn about what they're doing, and see if you can do a social media post for them, or like just find those little things that are skill sets you have. Putting together baskets to give away at networking events, or whatever it is that you do.
That's great advice, especially for all the spouses out there. What can you do to help that entrepreneur take a little bit of load off of them? So Mickey, any old man advice for us?
Actually, I'm going to piggyback off of that because that's great advice. But if you were thinking about being an entrepreneur, the first thing that you must do is talk to your spouse. Because if your spouse is not on board from the very beginning, it's just not going to work.
Yep.
Because it just won't. And, to piggyback off what you said about it's a partnership, and that includes the business. You can't just say, hey, we're partners in all part of a life except the business.
Yep.
Got to be together.
Yep. It's a whole thing. So, well, thank you so much, Bree. We
Appreciate
really
you,
appreciate
Bree.
you here. This was
for
awesome.
having me.
And thank you everybody out there for listening. Hopefully this was super helpful for you, especially for the spouses. So if you are the entrepreneur listening to this, let your spouse especially listen to this one, because this is what this is for. And for you to understand what they're going through, so we can help bridge those communication gaps, help everybody kind of focus and build a better relationship together, just like Bree said, out of love. And I think another great thing that we learned is how awesome the Air Force actually is. So thank you guys for listening.
We beat them in football.
Yes, we did.
We beat them again.
Again. Thank you guys.
I didn't even know they had a football team.
Touche. Touche. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Yeah. Hustling and grinding, don't know where to go. Emerald Coast board, got the knowledge flow. Whispers in the wind, strategies unfold. Business blueprint like a pirate's code.